One of the common adages that I think is or adage. I hope I'm saying that right. That I find is true in MMA is that literally like the opposite always happens of what you expect. So to be honest, if you look on paper, the a lot of the fights didn't have any crazy star power. Definitely, there were some good prospects, some interesting fighters, but there wasn't any like great star power like a Justin Gaethje, like Derek Lewis, something like that. Except for the two title fights, and the two title fights, other than the Brandon and Figueroa fight. Well, I guess you could say one of the two title fights was very boring and extremely boring, especially and actually that's kind of another example in the sense of the whole opposites is that you'd expect the heavyweight fight to be exciting and the flyweight fight to be boring, but the flyweight fight ended up being exciting and the heavyweight fight ended up being boring. So just kind of want to touch on that. Like I find that in MMA, and I think that's the right mentality to have. I mean, I remember I was listening to Yanni the Greek talk about sports betting on another podcast, and he was talking about how you always want to think be a contrarian type of better. So, for example, if everyone thinks that someone's going to win by knockout, you pick decision or pick submission because it's already the fact that everyone thinks that someone's going to win by knockout. It's already priced in there, so you're not going to get premium odds for that. You're going to have to be a little contrarian to actually get decent odds. And so my results this week, I did a good job. But I made a couple mistakes, and I'm going to talk about them. Where I did a great job is I had Michel Pereira by decision, and that was plus 220. I saw that on during the fights. They said on DraftKings it was plus 200, but I had my bookie, so it was plus 220. That was a great idea because oftentimes I find that the manner of victory is not the most common one, but like the second most common. Like Michel Pereira by submission would be a little stretch, even though it was like probably like plus 700. But then like it was most likely the bettors thought it was Michel Pereira by knockout, which is like plus 100, plus 125 or so. And I find a lot of times that it's when people think it's going to be by knockout, it's by decision. If it's by decision, by knockout, etc. But that was a really nice play. I actually, it's funny. I like betting on female fights for some reason because I feel like they're kind of slower, but they're also unpredictable. Another fight I was looking at potentially betting was I thought that it was almost like picking either what's her name, Silvana Juarez or Vanessa Demopoulos by decision, which thank God I did not do that because basically Silvana just literally pushed herself into an armbar, and of course Vanessa went for it. The fight, I was thinking about. I also thought I liked Jasmine Jasudavicius as a dog, but knowing Kay Hansen, I had heard, and honestly, I didn't watch her last fight, which was a loss, but I remember her against Jing Yu Fry, and I like Jing Yu Fry, and I remember they were talking about she submitted Jing Yu Fry, and they're talking about how she's like a black belt under Eddie Bravo in their 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah, 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu. So I was like, oh, snap, like, got to watch out for this girl. And, of course, missed opportunity to bet on Jasmine. But so my second bet of the night was actually Figueroa by any kind of finish, and that was plus 300. Again, that's an example of where I didn't think outside of the box. I had previously, it was funny, I had a great read on all the damn fights. I called Figueroa winning by finish. I made money. Him against Benavidez. The second time, same situation. I thought it was even easier bet, and I still got plus money on it. First time was like plus 300, second time was like plus 200. Then I had Brandon Moreno winning. I had bet Brandon Moreno. And this last time, I got greedy instead of taking like the plus 150 or, thinking outside the box and thinking, hey, Moreno's never been finished before, and these guys have fought to a decision once before. And most likely, a lot of times after, kind of similar to this happens a lot, when Rose fought Weili Zhang, the first fight has an early finish, and then all of a sudden, the comeback fight goes to decision because they're both more prepared. And I knew Figueroa looked really good. He was training with Cejudo. He came in lighter at 124. Cejudo was talking great stuff about him. And even though Cejudo, his last two fighters who he trained, Costa and Zhang, they lost, I thought that if Cejudo's going to show up to the fight and be in the corner, that means something. I think that Cejudo's a real champion. And anything he does, especially when he's really committed, is going to be successful. It's going to be successful. Excuse me. And but I should have been a little more creative. I thought, like everyone thought, oh, if Figueroa's going to win, it's going to be by knockout or submission. He's not going to be able to win by decision. And and that voice deep in my mind was like, hey man, like shit happens in MMA. Like maybe you should be a little creative. Maybe like you think, and I'm like, nah. I mean, look at the logic. A lot of times you have to be, I don't want to say logical, but just somehow like think about it from a different direction. And like same thing, I'm like, there's no way that Francis wins by decision. I mean, I think it was plus 800 or something, plus 700. And on the last fight, this is my first time trying live betting because I had, I knew people who, even if they had a bad night actually betting, with the bets beforehand, they would have a good night betting, live betting. And I tried playing with the live bets. And of course, I ended up losing money because what happened is I waited for Cyril to, he won the first round. Then when he won the second round, and I thought I grabbed him after the third round, like when Ngannou went for the takedowns, and I'm like, Ngannou looks exhausted. All Cyril has to do is just kind of like, keep a distance or, stuff the takedowns, and he should win this fight. And in the fifth round, he freaking takes Ngannou down. And he would have won that fight if he didn't go for the damn leg lock. Man, it's so frustrating. And again, I didn't have like that much money on that bet, but still, it's just frustrating when the guy has the ability to become world champion. It's right there. He's literally, all he has to do is just lay on top of Ngannou. I mean, yes, it's possible Ngannou could have, he's clearly, he improved his grappling. He could have gotten out of that position. But still, just if he could just hold him down and just lightly pepper him, why go for the leg lock? I understand if you're losing the fight. Like, that's like a desperation type move where you're like, okay, I'm down 3 rounds to 2. I'm down 4 rounds to 1. I got to go for it. Otherwise, I'm going to lose this fight. And even though, yes, he got pretty close to it. And Gane was a massive guy with massive legs. And it was just so frustrating to see because I was like, man, this guy, like, and I had to grab him at like minus like 215 or something, minus 225. Doesn't matter, the bet lost, but I'm like, oh man, like I had to take, I hate especially losing money on favorites. If I'm going to bet, like if I'm going to lose, I'd rather lose on an underdog or a plus type bet where, it's a manner of victory. So that's one thing that I've noticed for myself. So, it was just frustrating because again, he had the fight in the bag. And honestly, arguably, and the Weasel talked about this, and I actually thought this right away when I saw the fight, that I think you could argue that Cyril won because you can't really win fights according to the new rules just by laying on someone. That's what Ngannou did. But even then, like Cyril, he took him down. Just fucking stay there, man. Just stay there, lightly peppered him up. Just take the 5th round. Who cares if the 5th round is boring? But, he missed out on millions of dollars. I mean, it's crazy how it's such a game of inches. Like, you talk about, Cyril versus Ngannou just missing out on millions of dollars because he just made that one mistake. And that's why, like, I don't want to get, like, too sentimental, but in life, you really got to fight, like the great Al Pacino says, you got to fight for every inch you have because, again, you never know. You could be the difference between first and second place or even first and, last place could be like this much, just this much, just a little bit more. And yeah, I mean, overall, listen, it was an awesome card. I'm just like, I had good reads, but it was still a solid night, but like, I had the right ideas, but I just didn't execute as well as I should have. I mean, I probably should have, with the live and betting, I think my idea wasn't that bad. Maybe like I took shitty odds, but I should have, thought about Figueroa by decision, or at least Figueroa just taking him because again, he could win by any manner. So, overall, it's a learning experience. You just gotta, whether you win, whether you lose, whether you're never going to be, I used to work as a day trader, and you're never really fully happy because, again, you're never going to sell a security at the top price. Same thing as you're never going to get the perfect bet. Like even if you get a big underdog, maybe there was a point during the live betting where the underdog was even a bigger underdog and they win. So, you're never going to be fully happy. So you have to like always pick yourself up and remember to just, learn from your mistakes. Don't beat yourself up. Relax. Obviously, you want to manage your bankroll in a sustainable way. You want to bet something, obviously bet very small amounts, especially when you're learning. It's a learning experience. You're just paying for knowledge at that point. And yeah, I mean, same thing. If you want to be a great poker player, you're not going to start betting, thousands of dollars. Play for like $1, play for $5, no more than $20, and just learn like that. So, hope you guys enjoyed this. Please like and subscribe. I'm going to put a breakdown of next week's fight. I think it's Sean, oh my God, I'm forgetting. The European guy against the crazy guy. Jack Hermanson against Sean Strickland. That's what it is. Actually, there's one fight that I already put. There's one bet that I already locked in. So I put on something on Nick Maximov against Soriano. I think that the guy that Nick fought last time was kind of similar to Soriano, and I think that he's going to keep growing and growing. So yep, those are the bets. That's the first bet that I have. So if you guys please like and subscribe, and I appreciate all your support. Thanks.